G'day guys, welcome to another weekly developer update. Joining once again, we have Joe Armedio. How are you, mate?
Doing well. I'm looking forward to diving into everything that's happening this week.
Yeah, it's plenty going on once again, as always, and a pretty varied sort of thing across the board as well. So we've got NFT projects into education, the node side. Yeah, it's pretty broad, which is good to see. Just on that education side as well, see the Deco team have been talking on Twitter in regard to setting up some semesters.
Yeah, so those of you that are new to Ergo and interested in learning, they actually do a really good job of trying to break things down for kind of the layman level entry participant and kind of go over what is Ergo, how does it work, what is UTXO, what is a box, what are registers, really break down basic concepts to where, if you want to, let's say put your money into one of these systems, it's a good idea to know how they work. And for those of you out there that are, more development oriented, there's a lot of tools coming out of the community. I know that dappstep is one. I know Nemo has been working on one. Deco's, kind of gone through a couple of courses, so they've kind of refined and improved, how they're offering information. So there's a lot coming out on the education side, and to me, that's exciting because it's all about the barrier of entry. I talk about that a lot.
Yeah.
Both in terms of like the proof of work side or the development side. How complicated is it to participate? I think if we can make that process simpler, more user-friendly, it just opens, the network up to a larger audience.
Yeah, by all means. I think the layman course is fantastic for anyone entering the space because for the most part, people will be coming from an EVM side, EVM chain, where it's the account-based model. You did mention that it sort of breaks down the concepts of EUTXO with registers and everything along those lines as well. So it just gives a broad overview of sort of the technology that Ergo runs on in the accounting side. And then if you want to sort of dive even deeper, then that they do offer the development course as well.
Sure. Even something as simple as like reading Explorer transactions.
Yeah.
If you're not familiar with extended or with UTXO in general, it may be difficult to, click a confirmation on a transaction and see what is happening, right? It's good to break those things down.
Yeah, it's a little foreign to many, I believe. Just having the inputs and the outputs, it looks a little sort of intimidating in some respect. But once you sort of get that concept in your mind, whereas I just sort of picture everything as a cash transaction, we hand over a note and you get change in return. That's just in the simplest form, I guess you could sort of describe the UTXO model.
Yeah, that's a great analogy to start with.
Yep. So the weekly developer update. Let's jump in. So kicking things off, we have Ilya with dappstep that we were just discussing. So they have the third part of the Dapp developer course for the JavaScript developers. It's been released. So if you want to jump on there, it's EUTXO Essential and Explorer APIs, I believe. So I haven't watched that one yet, but I'll have to jump in there and see what that's all about.
Yeah, that's great content. I'm pretty happy to see the Hitchhiker's Guide to Ergo.
Great name also.
Yeah, having it on YouTube, having it accessible. Anybody that's curious, it's definitely a nice starting place.
Yep, by all means. So moving on, we have ErgoPort.
All right, so QX is back again. Nice to see a new dev in the community participating. Yep. Looks like he's been working on portfolio and bots. He added audit token tracking and price checking from MinSwap pool for both portfolio and bots. He's working on testing, basically adding an ability to check your own mining hash rate and your payout from GitBlock and Nanopool and Telegram. That's going to be done via bots. It looks like that's a pretty nice tool. Way you can get notified in your social channel. your own hash rate, your payout, and I guess you could even cha-ching it and know when it hits your wallet after you cash out.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
Yeah, that's pretty nice. It looks like he's also put together a what is that? A Telegram channel?
It looks like it, so you can check the commands for the EP help on Tele and then the EP help on Discord. So you can check the prices and then anywhere else the bot's used.
Very nice. So yeah, it looks like just something for added simplicity.
Yeah, and that looks like they're planning to add more mining pools in the future as well. Good to see. So moving on, we have MrStahlfelge. So he's just mainly been working on Mosaik this week and released the first version of the Mosaik web executor. Then, as you can see there, you can see it in action with the Dexy USD example on token J, and then just related to the Mosaik tutorial part 5, the web support is done. Then moving on to the wallet app that implemented collecting available open nodes in the background, so users can switch to one another in case of downtime or failures of a connected node. Updated the Portuguese translation and begun migrating the Android UI code to Compose framework so that the desktop and Android platforms can share the same look and feel. It's good to see.
Yeah, that'll be nice, having that unified user experience.
Yeah.
Looks like Luivatra is back behind the keyboard. Looks like he's working on proof of concept for plasma staking. So I think basically he's going to be on testnet, testing out the proof size, performance, figure out how things operated, and once he's got that working and performing as he hopes, he's going to work on hardening the contract itself, and that's actually pretty big tool that I think we'll see a lot of use in the future, to be honest, if he comes out with that.
Yeah, most definitely. And the cool thing about the Plasma side as well is you have that cross collaboration and the open source things with the next update here from Cheese Enthusiast as well. So he's actually built that for the GetBlock guys, and the Padilla people have implemented for the staking contracts and bits and pieces on ErgoPad as well. I think that's awesome. So moving on, we have the GetBlock IO update from Cheese Enthusiast. So just on subpooling, they're still working on pool contracts and the off-chain code for the next phase of the Nether pool. And Plasma-based pools now calculate unconfirmed balances every 10 minutes. So on the Plasma library, just adding more documentations and tests, and created the following document, which gives a basic overview of AVL trees in Ergo script. And they've in discussions about L2s as well. So earlier this week, he wrote an article for the general idea behind fully decentralizing mining pools on Ergo. Just described some basic concepts needed to fully decentralize a pool, and it includes on-chain share handling along with collateralization of mining rewards. And then just near the end of the article, he describes how fully decentralized mining pools will play a critical role in the new LT protocol that they're proposing, and have some more information along with a white paper in the near future. They're definitely not sitting back on their laurels, are they?
No, they aren't. That's worth hitting the cheese button right there.
So moving on, we have Scalahub.
It looks like Scalahub's been busy with Dexy USD contracts this week. Looks like the tracking contract is almost complete. That allows them to track when the ratio of the Oracle pool rate to the liquidity pool rate crosses a certain value that can be preset. Looks like the work in progress is extract to the future and burn contracts to try to balance out Dexy USD when it's out of sync for a long enough period of time.
And moving on, we have Greenhat and his team. So starting with Tim L, he's just finished a CI job to build and publish the Oracle app builds, and then also working on making the Oracle code base network agnostic for the mainnet and the testnet. And Jusek is working on an update pullbox command, and also removed node address conversion calls and implemented them locally. And then Greenhat himself has released Ergo library v0.19.0. Then also set up some nodes for the lading testnet for Oracle testing, fixed Oracle app building on GitHub release on older Linux distros, and refactored minor fee box contract. Moving on, he's run a bootstrap on the testnet and found a few issues with custom parameters, so min data points, Oracle count, etc., and just fixing those up now. And just besides that, he's taking care of the JavaScript to Ergo data type conversion for ERP24 and ERP34. Another substantial update. I keep saying that, but the guys keep churning out the code. And now on to Nemo.
All right, so the Nautilus wallet has version 0.5.1 under development. That's going to have some development mode and testnet improvements. That's released and it's under review at the moment. Looks like Nemo has put together what I'm going to call the FLET toolkit. Fluent Ergo toolkit, but I think FLET and Captain Nemo sounds pretty good together, building out multiple new builds on the ecosystem. Looks like he spent this week searching and building a pure JavaScript Ergo toolkit. The main goal there is to build an easy to use and highly tweakable library for transaction building and serialization, and replace outdated and unmaintained libraries like ErgoTS. He says the main characteristics are easy and fluent transactions, building the API, documented, built-in Babel fee support, 100% code coverage, pure JavaScript, highly customizable. That way, developers can hop on, play with FLET, and kind of build out a basically army of new dApps on top of Ergo. Nice to see.
Yeah, it ties into our little intro as well in regards to developer tooling, and this ties right in there with FLET, as you say. We might have to figure out an E to sit in there to put in there.
Yeah, maybe we'll just have to make everything else lowercase, right?
Fluent Ergo Experience Toolkit. Yeah.
There you go. That was the first try off the top of your head. I'll take it.
Okay, so moving on, we have hailypdll. Just preparing a minor update for SAFEW wallet, SAFEW wallet, just to fix a few bugs, and that should come soon. Gets thrown a lot around in the ecosystem, that soon word.
Yeah.
Still working on their game called Blob's Topia. I don't think there was a name for that one in the update last week. The smart contracts are done and running. Only bug fixes and a minor improvement should be required, and the UI is progressing. So just missing a few screens, and there's also a big refactoring development to be done on the wallet management. So just facing an issue with the Explorer at ergoplatform.com or .org, I'm assuming, used by the Nautilus and Safe wallets to build the context and sign transactions. And just gives an example there of that issue that they're facing. So if you want to read that one, by all means, jump in there. So just hope it's to be approved also. And moving on, we have MHSM on Rosen.
Sure. So the bridge has been tested part by part. The Ergo watchers, the Cardano watchers, the scanner service, the payment service, the guard service, the P2P network, the multi-sig and the threshold signature, etc. He's been and team have been going through finding bugs and stomping them out.
Nice, a lot of moving parts there.
Yeah, it's complicated build bridges. Looks like now it's time to deploy the whole bridge and do a final integration test. This weekend, they're going to deploy it on the local Ergo mainnet and the Cardano testnet. Start playing around with bridging tokens from testnet to testnet before they launch it mainnet to mainnet. So it looks like you can say that development has largely ended and they're in the final test stage. Sure, there will be some bugs to be fixed and some changes to be made, but that's what testnet is for. And having it, tested in, kind of one service rather than individual components is definitely a big step forward. Looks like they're going to update the GitHub repo in a few days. Meanwhile, there are a few considerations that can affect tokenomics. For example, should we use the highest possible number of guards? As an example, 100 or 200 guards, or should we use less guards, however big of a number, and say 15, for example, with more skin in the game, meaning they have to put up more collateral. And so if a guard fails in their duty, they could get heavily punished, let's say, for having more skin in the game. That's actually a really good question because, it kind of breaks down to the possibility of a external or an internal attack. And you kind of have to think about it both ways. Looks like they're testing the possible combinations to find out the technical limitations, the max guard set, and the impact on security and performance. So I think that right now the maximum that is allowed in terms of the protocol itself is 255, but depending on the multi-sig scheme that they use, there could be some space issues that they run into. And so I guess they have to figure out what is the, beyond what's enforced by the protocol, what is practical in terms of block size and performance. So that'll be an interesting test to see. I don't think it's actually been done on Ergo with the current changes that have occurred. And based on the experiments, they'll get some numbers, and then we can break down to economic incentives and other aspects of the configuration. So it's great to see that coming together.
Yeah, it's a fine line, isn't it? Just sort of balancing out the pros and cons of max number of guard sets and everything else along those lines as well. Just find that happy sort of equilibrium.
There's always trade-offs. That's it's one of those things, like if you have unknown participants and say he did spin up 200, you have to ask the question, how many, bad actors could potentially be inherited there, versus if you have a smaller number with a bigger stake, I think you're less likely to catch a bad actor off the bat. But then with a smaller number, potentially collecting keys is easier. And then you also have, I guess, the potential of like the internal attack becomes easier as well. So a lot to think about. I wish there was like black and white here, but you get down into trade-offs and what are the incentives and what makes sense, and that'll come together. I think seeing just the maximum threshold signature on Ergo that can be mined and what the performance is of that is quite fascinating. So just that as a test, I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, and we've all seen what's happened with bridges when they do go wrong. So it's just a matter of dotting the I's, crossing the T's, and thinking about all these sort of different attack vectors along the line as well. Yeah. So moving on, we have Alex. So he's released 4.0.37 and 4.0.38. 0.38 is identical to 3.7, but has auto voting for the 5.0 soft fork. So 0.37 allows to vote for the 5.0 soft fork, and it consumes less space in a UTXO and reportedly bootstrapping significantly faster. So 26 hours versus 46 hours previously on a Raspberry Pi. That's very significant. Made testing PR for the 5.0 interpreter as always on. So 5.0 always branch, and then just running it on his machine, and then just continuing work on bootstrapping the UTXO set snapshot. So just some raw prototypes can be shown in a few weeks. And then on to other things for an exchange integration where it was a problem with dependency conflicts for the Ergo wallet. It's made a simple zero dependency lightweight jar for utilities working with the Ergo addresses. Then also reviewed a refundable ICO contract made by the Comet guys, and it looks good in his opinion. Reviewing the mixing contract modifications by MHS. It allows for more than 2 boxes to be mixed per round, and as well as some other things, and just discussing fees and incentives with Scalahub and MHS, and discussing Dexy contracts with Scalahub.
It's a big update. There's a lot to unpack there.
Yeah, where do we start? 5.0?
Yeah, I would say 5.0. You know, I know that there was a lot of people that were pretty confused by the rapid fire, you know, 4.0.37, 4.0.38. So it's good to let people know that, you know, auto voting has come about. So I guess the voting process has now begun. If people are going to support that, which my assumption is everybody will, because there's really not a lot of, let's say, reason not to, in terms of like the miners are going to get paid more and scripts are going to be executed more efficiently. So I think that's pretty much going to have consensus out of the gate. But having the prototype for the UTXO set snapshot, you know, that's getting into implementing NepoPals, which is something that, you know, we've been working on for quite a while. So it's exciting to hear that the prototype will be potentially out in, you know, it's a few weeks to a month. Let's see. Then we get into mixing, which, you know, that's a hot topic right now. But anyway, I think Sigma Join definitely has the potential to make mixing a lot more usable and lower the barrier of entry, which, you know, currently zero join works well, but, you know, it's more complicated than the general user would probably like. So having that, you know, let's say easier and plugged into infrastructure could be huge. And then Dexy in and of itself is its own animal with a lot of long-term potential.
Yeah, like I said earlier, these guys are pumping out some code, aren't they? And working on multiple things at once as well. So look what Alex has got there. He's got the 5.0 node, the snapshot. So NipoPals basically implementing or the potential to implement light clients and logarithmic mining and numerous other things. Dexy, which is a stable coin sort of protocol, ICO contracts. Like, he's got a lot on his plate just in that last week.
Yeah, always busy, that one.
So moving on, we have BlitzTCG with a life-sized plastic cutout of Margot. So as you can see there.
Yeah, so there is a event in Las Vegas called CNFT Con. Blitz is going to be there. Dan's going to be there. I'm still fixing my van, and, you know, hopefully I don't get stuck on the side of the road somewhere in Nevada, but I'm going to try to be there.
It'd be nice and warm if you're stuck there.
Yeah, I mean, there are worse places to be, I guess. But yeah, let's hope that goes well. That's not what I'm hoping for. But, you know, having this type of community content there is really valuable. And then I think the next weekend, there's actually a conference in Denver called Rare Bloom, which I'm native to Colorado, so that's close. But the Ergo Foundation will have a booth in Vegas, and any developers that are out there that want to talk about their project, in my opinion, our booth is yours. Come and, you know, take the mic and step into the spotlight, talk to people. I'm always happy to try to help people that are building in the ecosystem, or if you're just a community member that happens to stop by, that'd be nice to meet and greet everybody.
Yeah, by all means, jump in and say good day. So moving on, we have Koutelier and the Comet Wallet. So there's a bug in the manifesto file. It doesn't allow people to download the Comet Wallet from the Chrome store. Also, the Chrome store rejected the version 5 of their wallet because it looks like another app that exists there. Wonder what that could be.
No idea.
So they just have some work to do there and just change the description of the wallet as well. Then they'll just push a new update as soon as they fix that. They fixed the burn tab in their wallet. So you get some help from Captain Nemo, help. And then they have an update on the lottery. So the Comet is looking for an Ergo script dev to write their smart contract for the lottery side of things. And they do have that bounty available for 500 SIG USD also.
Awesome.
And then on the ICO update, they've turned off the option for people to buy their ICO. So they can only refund it at this stage. So just waiting for Jose to empty the smart contract. Also, we get our refundable ICO contract reviewed by Kushti, as mentioned earlier.
Yeah, it was nice of him to take his time to go through that. But, you know, the Comet team, when they first came out, they said, we're going to do the refundable ICO. And I said, yeah, where is it? You know, okay, you're going to make a refundable ICO. And you know what? They did it and they've submitted it to review and it looked good. So yep. I have to say props for that.
Yeah, by all means. And also, if you're a developer, there's 500 SIG USD up for grabs as well. Just a little update here from Yasha. So as everyone's aware, I'm sure, the ErgoDex team is just working on their rebranding. And I think by the time this video goes out, they would have made that announcement.
Yeah, they dropped some content. That's been happening in the background for a while. I'm really glad to see them kind of drop the ErgoDex brand, just because, you know, the reality is longer term, I would say I'd love to see some competitors, right? And, you know, if you're like branded ErgoDex, it does kind of sound centralized. And so having, you know, their own independent brand that they can then develop and grow and hopefully take beyond the ecosystem, great. I'm all for that.
That's it. Like to see everyone succeed. Moving on, we have an update from Tensile.
Nice, new dev. So I have to give them a nice welcome. Looks like they've designed a flowchart to illustrate the design for an options contract. They've implemented illustrated option contract design as an Ergo script contract, and with some testing that's been played with. Looks like that happened on mainnet because they were a little too lazy to set it up on testnet, which is, it's fine, it'll work. A little dangerous, but hopefully,
just dive right in.
Yeah, hopefully nobody tries to just ape into something under construction. Sometimes that happens in this space and it can be painful. But you know what, if it's easier for them to develop that way, go for it. Users need to know their assumptions before they ape into things, hopefully. Looks like there's also some research that's being done on futures contracts. And research is being done on layer 2 scaling solutions, state payment channels. You know, actually, that is one of, I would say, it's a really good use case for mixing. You'll see that on Ethereum, where people will kind of deploy and test contracts on mainnet there. And, you know, if you're going to do that, especially if you have a known address, you may not want to deploy something from a known address, because, you know, you may have people that just kind of watch an ape and jump into something intended to be a test. So actually, that's something the mixer is used for. You know, I know Tornado Cash was, you know, had some drama, but that's actually one big benefit of Tornado Cash for developers, is being able to anonymously test things on mainnet.
So moving on, we have NightOwl, another substantial update that we have here. So they've ton of progress this week. The UI is almost complete and just doing some final tweaks. The backend's progressing nicely. Just one thing to note, they're moving from Ethash-based RNG to Dream.love based RNG. So that they get a result in every 30 seconds on that one. They've also moved to moved due to the ETH moving to proof of stake. So they saw some issues with stability and consistency of results. And they're just finishing up some RNG and backend work for the RNG of games. And then they just need to finish the LP. So it's about 70% complete. And then the team is also working really hard, as you can see. The site's looking a lot better than ever, and yeah, just can't wait for everyone to see it. So I've seen a little bit of a sneak peek there, and in the Ergo Summit, as you would have seen by the time this video is out, there's a little update there also for you people. On the front end, there's a website background music's complete, so it's on by default. Sidebars finished, improved coin flip and UI and UX, added your roulette sounds for chips placing and choosing, hovering, spin buttons, reveal number and error. The liquidity provision FAQ and about us text has been modified. There's an about us pages that's also been finished. The FAQ page has been finished. Roulette, lottery and coin flip info model modified and finished. So you can learn how to play the game itself before you just sort of degen in and just start clicking buttons here and there and hope for the best. The page headers search function for the game's redone and finished. Game page has been finished. Just need some images updated for the games and the improved lottery UI. On the back-end side of things, they've stood up Prometheus monitoring for their instances, created a back-end API call to calculate if a user's won their bet, and if so, how much, and bootstrapped test liquidity pool for the swap contract, and started refactoring the VDF code, which is the random number generator for the lottery game.
Very nice.
I can take a breath after that.
Yeah, I'm really curious to see how many people are going to use the info module.
Straight into it, mate.
We'll see. Looks like we have Exle. Chris Ray is next. Looks like they've wrote up and tested the Redux transaction proxy contracts and tested it in mainnet. They've written the first version of the Excel bot and started running against mainnet. Chain transactions have been implemented in the Excel bot. Tested contracts up to lend and repayment, which has a bug. Looks like they found and are fixing bugs in some contracts still. Working on designing a transaction tester to figure out on-chain contract failure efficiently. They've modified singleton boxes to store and lend hash in registers for hash verification. Finished all the tests for all the contracts except the service box, and they're going to start working on a visualizer. Nice to see.
Yeah, awesome. Good to see all that coming along also, and to see all the progression on the ground in Kenya as well. I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
Moving on, we have Pragmaxim and an update on the node. So it's just fixed a couple of things in regarding the node's features to publish it publicly available API. Currently working on the node validation errors to contain modified IDs and types. Then just also fixing an issue when an invalid transaction is not removed from the meme pool. Just a couple of questions there in regards to the futures of perpetual trading. So options, sorry. Just traditional at the moment. And moving on, we have Ergo Sapiens.
Now it looks like Ergo Sapiens has finished up the front end of their website. They have a new site written in React that uses ErgoScript JavaScript or ergoscript.js. Added payment receive alerts for both Nautilus and ErgoPay. Working on Mint alerts on the website. They want to give a special shout out to Ilya from dappstep for the help with ergoscript.js, and thanks to Dan Numi.
Danny Yumi?
I'm close. To help with the DApp connector React package, both of which are great community tools. Testnet site has been doing great and would appreciate some more developers to start testing it out. So everybody who wants to help on there, see if you can find any issue on the testnet site. Looks like the Ergo Sync node, they're working on a new snapshot for mainnet. That's been pretty nice to play with as well, having a rapid sync.
It's good fun, isn't it? So moving on, we have a non-real and an update for the auction house. So two of the main pages are being finalized by front-end devs. So it's mass auction and mass item. I'm assuming that's mass item minting. The collection related functionalities being implemented and tested on the back end, and just thinking about how to tokenize the auction house. And then on Ergo team, they have a much clearer roadmap. A lot of progress has been done in the past weeks. Just writing initial tests, or say unit tests for contracts to make sure all paths execute fine without costing issues. After the tests are done, I'll send the contracts for private review. Found a concerning issue in Ergo script, it seems. So it's just tagged Kushti, Scala, and Morphic just to have a look at that one when they get time. And moving on, we have GwapSwap.
All right, LGD from GwapSwap. Now they did release a Medium article for the first time ever, so I have to give a shout out for that. I don't see the link here, but those of you that are interested in kind of diving into what GwapSwap is doing, that's a great resource. Looks like they've worked on the payday protocol design for miner fund reward distribution. The NFT conceptual work has started. They're in negotiations with different NFT artists. They're planning out the participation at CNFTCon. So it looks like GwapSwap is going to be in Vegas. Nice to see. Hope my van gets me there. And the white paper work on the incubator fund will be implemented as it looks like they're still working on it. But yeah, check out their Medium article. That would be my ad to GwapSwap.
Yeah, I know you can definitely find it on their Twitter. There's a link there, but I'm sure it's in Reddit also, or one of the other sort of socials. Someone will chuck a link up there by all means. So moving on, we have CM Mongo and Cyber Citizens. Welcome to the developer update, mate. So just on their last week, they were having an issue where furniture in some of their interiors were showing front of player, and that's been fixed. There's an example link there for the Gyazu link, and cassette NFTs in collaboration with Ergo Names has been airdropped to 4 staking tiers. There's 4 different tracks equals creator of tracks. I saw the cassettes up there actually on Twitter, and I think that's a bit of a blast from the past. Not many people would recognize the cassettes. As you can see, they're just currently working on adding a new UI for character NFT selection, creating new methods for customizing apartments also, be more open for owners' apartments than their previous method, as you can see on their real estate page in the video. And this new method requires marking all assets that will be used in apartments, splitting them, adding collisions, data, etc. Then just adding categories and unique IDs. And there'll be more updates on apartments in 16 days. And they just have a UI for the concept of the furniture menu that they'll be using. That adds a little bit of use and utility to NFTs. Pretty cool. And I think that's it.
Yeah, just looking at the distributed randomness beacon, and then looks like Comet at the end are talking about the potential lottery. So yeah, there's still a bounty out for that, but looks like they have an idea what the payouts are going to be, and at least what they want to design. I hope somebody hops in and helps them get there.
Yeah, as we mentioned earlier, there is a 500 SIG USD bounty, so by all means, jump on and help the guys out. So another significant update, mate. It felt like we've been talking for a while on that one, with some pretty significant updates.
A lot of good stuff in the community. And, the reality is there were a lot of projects that, probably are still working on stuff didn't show up this week. So, when I was doing these solo way back when, I noticed that at some point it went from, 15 minutes to 20 minutes to 30 minutes and then I was getting to the point where I was like, oh, these are getting painful. It's a lovely thing. I hope the ecosystem grows to where, eventually we might even need to like subdivide it to where, you have certain aspects of the space that kind of get their own coverage because, it's good to talk about what people are building. It's good to discuss that, get the cross collaboration between projects and developers and really march forward as a community. I think we're doing a great job in terms of having that open source collaboration. And, the fact that the core developer would hop on and review the contract for meme coin because they needed it. I'm happy to see that.
Yeah, definitely. And that just reminded me also, there's been a little bit of banter between a certain meme coin and a certain core developer also. There's a little bit of shade being thrown down on Twitter, and I think the dev returned some fire in the one of the Comet groups also. So yeah, it's good to see that little bit of banter going on between the ecosystem. It's pretty funny.
Yeah, I'm always happy to see, people jumping in and out of things that aren't really theirs and helping out, playing around. Yeah, makes development a funner experience.
Yeah, definitely. I'd like to see, like you mentioned, also you've seen the growth week on week since I've sort of been doing these developer updates as well, and being able to split possibly the core side to community aspects as well. Yeah, it'd be awesome to see that sort of side of things come to fruition also.
Yeah, otherwise we might be on here for hours,
Well, it's like you said, it's a good problem to have, isn't it?
It's a great problem to have, but it's also, potentially, these stretch out quite a bit. Plus, I got to talk to Nemo now and get him to rename his toolkit because I like FLET versus FLET. So
I don't even know what I said. What was it?
I don't know. It was good though.
Experience toolkit. All right, guys. Well, thank you once again for tuning into another weekly developer update. Joe, it's been a pleasure once again.
Yeah, always.
All right, guys. Take care. Have a great day.